Welcome back to the Microsoft Flight Simulator A to Z series. Today we're hitting the letter K from Kilo, which stands for KCAS, knots calibrated airspeed. Most simmers treat the airspeed indicator like a car speedometer. They see a number and assume it's the absolute truth, but in aviation the raw number is just the beginning of the story. If your indicator says 100 knots, that's your indicated airspeed, also known as KCAS. But that reading is almost always wrong. To find out how fast you actually are flying relative to the air mass, you need to account for the lies told by your instruments. You need calibrated airspeed. Your pitot static system is the heart of speed measurement. Comparing ramp air pressure from the front of the static pressure from the side, but three things get in the way of a perfect reading. The first one is the instrument error. This comes from mechanical friction, wear and tear, or manufacturing imperfections in the gauges themselves. Second one, position error. This is the big one. As you change your angle of attack, like when you're slow and heavy with flaps down, the air doesn't hit the pitot tube head on. It trips over the sensors, creating a false pressure reading. 3. Installation error. Even where the static port is placed on the fuselage matters. The very presence of the aircraft disturbs the air it's trying to measure. Let's see this in action. Manufacturers like Cessna have already done the math for us. In the 172S manual, look at the calibration table. At high speeds, indicated and calibrated speeds are nearly identical. But look at the low end. Where in a slow flight configuration with flaps up, 50 knots indicated airspeed might actually be 54 knots calibrated, KCAS. That 6 knots difference is critical because aerodynamic forces, like lift and stall, respond to the calibrated airspeed, not the raw number on your dial. So let's demo it in Flight Simulator 2024, although in Flight Simulator 2020 you will actually see exactly the same. So first I'm gonna drop the flaps to max. If I do that, the speed of course will massively, I'd say, decrease. Let me also make sure that I'm aligning correctly because I'm a little bit too high. And then if we're getting closer to the 50, which I'm trying to do as we speak, I need to pull the nozzles a little bit higher. Here we go, to make it easier to decrease. And here you already see a difference, right? If I'm pointing out the TAS compared to this speed over here, you already see a difference over there. Now, if I want to make it even worse, I can, let's say, pull the aircraft into a stall. I would say, according to the manual, the stall speed should be roughly 48 knots CAS. But look what happens, right? I'm flying currently 48. So I'm gonna... You see the difference? It's not a lot, but there is some difference compared to, let's say, the TAS compared to the speed which is being shown over here. It's not much, but it's something, and that could be, let's say, really important. In Flight Simulator, luckily, those differences are, let's say, not that high compared to what they showed in the manual. Now, if we want to recover from the stall, we need to push the nose down. In this case, the airspeed will, of course, increase. And then keep an eye on the TAS, which will be very close to what you saw earlier, right? Let me do it further. Let me go to 110 knots and then let's see. You can still see that there is some difference, but the difference becomes, let's say, less. It's hard to see, but the difference becomes less to, let's say, previously, right? When we were flying a slower speed. So super interesting to also see this working in Flight Simulator 2024. For the advanced simmers, how do they even figure these errors out? In flight testing, engineers use something called a trailing bump. They tow a sensor far enough below the aircraft to reach undisturbed air, providing a perfect reference to compare against the aircraft's internal gauges. On the ground, mechanics use a differential manometer and a simply syringe to manually pressure into the pitot tube, simulating speeds to see exactly where the needle lags or overreads. This upskill and downskill testing ensures the pilot knows the margin of error at every speed. KCAS is the gatekeeper. You cannot accurately calculate your true airspeed, TAS, or navigation timing without it. For navigation, KCAS is the first step in calculating how fast you're moving through the air. For control, CAS is your primary reference for structural limits and stall awareness. For fast jets, at high altitudes, you even have to correct KCAS for compressibility to get equivalent airspeed. The next time you're flying an approach in Microsoft Flight Simulator, remember, indicated speed is a suggestion, but calibrated speed is the truth. Understand decay makes you a more precise, more professional pilot. Thanks for watching. If this helped you decode your cockpit, hit like and subscribe. Join me for the next letter, where we dive into something which I don't know yet. But it's for the letter L from Lima, so keep an eye on my channel because I will post a survey. Because I will post a poll where you as my subscriber can select which topic we will cover next.